Hi architects, today you're gonna watch a new interview with David Roulin. David is a partner and the CEO of the architectural company Art&Build. This company is located in several places in Europe and was created 30 years ago. Before we start, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss the next videos and the next interviews. And don't forget to put a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and to share it with your colleagues and your friends. So let's start this interview. So hello David, thank you for this interview. First of all, we would like to know when and why did you decide to become an architect?
So I chose to become an architect quite late in life, right out of college. However, I came from a background that pushed me in that direction. I have a father with sculpture, very interested in architecture, and my family has always been surrounded by artists and architects. My parents built the house where I was born on the principles of the modular by Le Corbusier. You could say that I fell into the pot of architecture when I was a child, like Obelix in the Magic Potion. It was finally a famous Spanish sculptor, Miguel Berrocal, who one day in his house in Firenze in Italy at Christmas asked me what I wanted to do. I told him I wanted to do design graphic, scenography, etc. And he advised me to do architecture that would open all these doors for me. So I started studying architecture, thinking that becoming an architect wouldn't be an option. That is the beginning of the story I like to remember.
And so you are the CEO of Art&Build, and this architectural and urban company is 30 years now.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little more about its history and tell us also how you became the CEO of this company?
Yeah. So Art&Build was founded in Brussels in 1989 by 4 architects, with the idea of the right synthesis between creativity, art, and technical expertise build. It is therefore a collective that is in the origin of the practice, and for 30 years, more than 20 partners have contributed to the know-how and notoriety of Art&Build. Today, the practice is once again managed by 4 architects who are from the second generation. And I've been the CEO since 2016, following a democratic process between the partners. I have always been interested in the organization of the practice, in understanding what is the singularity of our method. And I truly believe that collective intelligence is at the heart of our corporate identity.
Within your company, so Art&Build, you are really concerned about ecological issues. So what are your main strategies in order to build a sustainable architecture?
For us, ecology is first and foremost an attitude, a deep conviction and a commitment. As creators of the living environment, we believe that we have an impact not only on community life, but also on our relationship with nature and the future of the planet. So our approach is holistic because the many parameters that define an architectural project all have an impact, and this impact is systemic. All factors contribute to sustainability: economic, ecological, social, cultural. And what interests us is to turn each project into a research laboratory in order to improve the ecological and social footprint of our buildings. This attitude has been part of the practice's DNA since the beginning. We have accumulated a know-how that feeds each project with its expertise, and it's quite exciting.
So now, if you look at your career, according to you, what is the realization, the accomplishment you are the most proud of?
I think that, like any architect, I'm proud of all the projects I've been involved in, whether they have completed or not. we put a piece of our soul into every project, especially in competition. And for some of them, we dedicate a piece of our life to it, sometimes more than 10 years. I lived through this twice in my life, and it remains an important marker of my development, both professionally and personally, and even in my family, if you talk to my wife about it. But I think what I'm most proud of is my commitment as a manager. I'm proud to have succeeded with my partners in making the transition between generations within the practice to ensure that it will be sustainable over time.
And by contrast, what is the biggest difficulty you met in your career, and how did you resolve it?
So I think the main difficulty I've met is the resistance to change. Within our practice, for example, in 30 years, we have accumulated a lot of know-how, but also behaviors and uses that need to be adapted to the evolution of the society and the evolution of the architect profession. It is very difficult to change habits, but it's the same with the client. When we fight to reduce the carbon footprint of our buildings through timber construction, for example, we are forced to do differently from traditional way of building. Then we must convince and force our client to think differently, to adapt their usual methods. This is not always easy. Fortunately, some have the same commitment as we do, and we have very promising results.
And in the future, if you would like to develop more art and build, what would you need?
So I'm not sure that the notion of developing more the company is an absolutely necessity. We want to continue to do what we have to do as best we can. We deal with very different projects from the smallest to the biggest, and each one is very exciting. There is also the notion of territory. In architecture, there is no boundaries, in my opinion. We want to be able to work anywhere in the world with the same uncomplicated, committed, and responsible attitude. But if I have to express a need, I will say that what we need is time. Architecture is a slow process, and quality takes time. Innovation takes time. In a perfect world, time should not be a determining factor of business. But maybe this is a wishful thinking, isn't it?
And finally, advices to young architects. So first question, do you think that young architects should wait for a good moment before starting their company?
I think that being an architect is a very exciting job, but it requires a lot of work and a lot of expertise. And the architect takes a lot of responsibility, and yet he does not make a lot of money. So I really think an architect must have a lot of experience and maturity before starting a business by himself. My advice is to wait as long as possible and to multiply experiences, to travel, to cultivate oneself, and we say to have a thick ladder. Life is long, there is no hurry to put yourself in a position of a great responsibility as a business leader. Another piece of advice would also be to not stay alone to face this complexity. Architecture and construction are collective processes involving many stakeholders. In order to face architects' great responsibilities, I really think it is more comfortable to have partners, to share with them one's day life in the good times as well as in the bad times.
And according to you, what are the necessary qualities of an architect CEO?
Architect CEO. I want to say that CEO is CEO, whatever business it runs.
An architect running a company, I mean.
Yeah. I guess there are a lot of different types of architect CEO, and they each have their own qualities and faults. As far as I'm concerned, I would say that you must be stable, serene, have a sense of responsibility, and be able to arbitrate whenever necessary. I think that you also must be able to distance yourself from what I call the dictatorship of reality, when reality imposes itself on your good sense and your deep conviction. Also, when you have a large team like ours, 80 people, you must be able to create the conditions for everyone's well-being and to create the condition for their talent to emerge and flourish. But maybe I think the greatest and most difficult quality to achieve is to delegate tasks that can be done by others. This difficulty, it's a never-ending learning process, I think.
And to finish, what advices would you give to young architects to help them finding their first clients?
I do not think there is a recipe, even if it's obvious that there is some basic ingredients that need to be brought together. It takes talent, ideas, conviction, courage. It takes a lot of luck too. The K is not the first customer. I guess every architect started somewhere with a very small project, like transforming the garage of his parents' house, for example. And that project excited him as much as the project he is working on today. Basically, on the heart of the architect's profession is the notion of service. We put ourselves at the service of people to transform their living and working environment. It is the notion of service that will enable you to meet expectations. And as soon as the service is recognized as being of high quality, those who need it will come to you naturally. You must have confidence in your talent, your ideas, and the quality of what you learned so far.
Okay, thank you very much. This interview is finished. We will put all the links concerning your company, Art&Build, and concerning yourself in the description. So again, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for the invitation, Céline.